This is my new acquire from Kijiji, a used accordion, but well maintained by I think one owner all these years. But I think it probably was beyond his what shall I say, specifications after all these years. So he just gave it away at a good price. I just took a chance. I had never actually held an accordion before, and so I thought, let me give it a try instead of spending a lot of money on an expensive one. And Cantulia, I looked on the internet and came to know that it was a separate independent company doing very well. I think they were competing with Hohner in Germany before I think 56 or 55, 1955. And later it was acquired by Hohner to eliminate the competition. Hohner continued with the Cantulia, I think, and finally in 1957 they closed that brand, Cantulia brand. So this is the Cantulia, very well made. I'm not an expert, but then what I've done some comparisons, read quite a bit. So this is looks like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 reed bass. It's a 120 bass, 120 buttons, as you saw in the earlier picture. It has 5 reeds on the bass side, and those are the numbers you can see. I'm just thought, let me do a as-is video. I actually purchased this a while ago, but had just opened and cleaned up everything and then kept it aside. Then after this I acquired another Hohner good one, which I was trying to learn from that. So now I decided, okay, let me just take a look at it and see. On the bass side, I think things are okay, but I'll show some shots on the treble side, the keyboard side. Many of the leather valves are curled up, and not all the reeds are sounding. I'll give a demo of that later, but right now it is just the opened accordion I'd like to show. And if anyone is interested in the other side, this is how it is. Nothing really much. So again, the bass side, all the buttons are there. Cosmetically, I would say for its age, even if we say take it as a 1957 model, cosmetically it is really well maintained. It came with a case, original case. So I'll just stop the video for a few minutes and switch over to the keyboard side. Here's the keyboard side of the Cantulia. It's a 41 key, full size, and it has 4 reeds in the treble side with 7 registers, as you can see. And actually I had opened up the this grill. Let me just keep it aside. So this is after I cleaned it a few months ago, but then it wasn't really very dirty. It was well maintained, and he was a professional, the person who gave it to me. Not only was he a good player, but he also maintained his own accordions, including tuning of the reeds and all that. So came with the back cover is a little I would say warped at places, but still not very bad. A decent belt, not really bad for its age, although the thread has come off, as you can see at some places, but it's still okay. Oh, by the way, a few months back I did attempt a repair because some of the keys were getting stuck, and so I had to remove the the axle that holds all the keys. It's a single axle, single rod. I think it's a brass rod. I ordered it from the US. Took a while for it to come, and my goodness, the removal itself was very difficult. I have seen some videos on that, how they fix it to the vise and then keep pulling it. I had to do something like that. I had to take it to my garage, and then but then the problem is the axle was very short. I didn't have any reach. No access was there. So what I did is, very carefully, let me just show some light. Where is the, yeah, you can see it clearly. I actually took a router bit with a Dremel and then did that small round hole. I took off all the wood so that I could reach the axle, and then I managed to pull it out slowly. But then the removing process was damaged the rod. In any case, I had already ordered one. Having the new one in hand, I took up this job. It was really difficult, and all the keys came out. But then I had seen some videos and read some literature on that before. So that helped me, thanks to all those people who have posted the information on the internet. That way I numbered all the keys and then removed it. Now you can see that the rod is actually jutting out a little. I didn't want to trim it. I left it that way. I'd like to cover it with something. I haven't yet thought of anything yet. So on this side, I have almost close to about 7-8 millimeters. And even on the other side, let me just turn it. On the other side too, where is it? Yeah. So here, I would like to put a cover to this one. Pulling end is the other end, and this is the one which should be the sharper end. And here I'd like to place some sort of a steel cover. I think something must be available. I haven't yet come to that. These are all cosmetic. I can look into it later. So that is how it is. So I have, I think, 3 or 4 millimeters, maybe a 1/8 of an inch on this end, and 7-8 millimeters on the other side. So I'd like to show you the other side. Almost the keys are all in level. Almost, I would say. Not bad for its age. Yeah, you can see a little bit of up and down, but otherwise most of the keys are in level. And I noticed while pulling, the wooden piece on this end broke for this key, but being the last key, it is still in place and not bothering much. But then the pads definitely need to be changed. Otherwise, you can see this is the most noisy one. The rest are all manageable when you are playing, but I think the purist may say that this is too noisy. But I'm an amateur, a beginner, so it really doesn't matter. And I don't see any writing on this as to which one is for what reed. But today what I did, I opened up one of the keys here, and then by pressing different levers, registers, I wrote down the things that open and close. And at the end of this video, I'm going to put the chart. This is an as-is thing. I'm not sure if that is the way, because I see that the fourth hole, like there are 4 holes here, 1, 2, 3, 4 for the 4 registers. The 4th register, which I believe is the lower frequency one, it doesn't open completely. Even when it opens, it doesn't open completely, and it doesn't seem to close also completely. Only the first and second holes, they open and close completely. Even the third one, I feel, although it closes completely, it doesn't open fully. So I'd like to figure out, and I think this is the master one, the middle one. I think this is the master switch, because that is where I see that all the holes except for the fourth one, which is partially open, all the holes are open. And at the end of the video I'll post a picture of what happens when each of these, I have numbered this from 1. I'll call this as 1 and 7, because yeah, as we know, this is key number 1. And likewise, the holes here, the top one will be 1 and the bottom is 4. So I'll show you the other side where we have the reed blocks. As I mentioned, this is a 4 reed block Cantulia, and close up if you can see. Most of the leather valves are curled up, and I find although there is no air leak in the bellows. Bellows is in really very good shape. I'm not sure whether he replaced it during the lifetime of this accordion, but the bellows are really good. And compared to the Hohner, I have the Tango 3M, the other accordion. Compared to that, I need to move the bellows quite a bit more often than I do in the other one to play even a single phrase. Sometimes in a song, even a single phrase, I won't be able to complete it with one go, either draw or compress, or whatever word you use for that. So this is how it is, and those are the levers, and it's a nice mechanism. It is held here with this and with a screw. We don't even I think last time I made the mistake of actually moving this. I think we need not, although there is a possibility we can move that. By just loosening these screws, we can lift the setup. And these are the pipes that closes the valves there, the 4 valves, depending on what we choose here. And on the internet, on the YouTube, I saw another similar, not on YouTube, I think some of the pictures I got on the internet, where there's a similar accordion, red color. In that he had marked, I think, which was 1. I believe this was 1. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. That is how he had marked. And looking at the reeds, I feel this is the high one, because there are a few that are much smaller and no valves for those. So this is the high, and this also looks like it has a few high. This also, yes. So I'm not sure. I think this is L. Probably this is L, and perhaps these are 2 mm, and this could be H. So it's an L, MM, H. I think. I'm not very sure. So when I complete the work, I will post another video and also explain what I did. Now, for now, although none of the reed pieces have fallen off, the wax is in place. I didn't have the proper wax, so I have actually placed an order today for beeswax plus the what is the other one, rosin and beeswax. That should be arriving in a couple of days. I have some linseed oil, so I need to mix everything, heat up, mix everything, and then make that adhesive part first before I touch on anything, just in case something falls off. So that's about it. At the end of this, I am going to post the register chart which I have made. Thank you for your time. Well, as an afterthought, I thought, why not remove one of the reed blocks and add the clip to the video that I was making. So here, as you can see, I have removed the third reed block. It's kept the other way around. So this is how it was. So this is the third reed block, and so you can see the inside. So I'll have to figure out, in fact last time I did make an attempt. I'll remove all the reed blocks and then see why the fourth hole is not actually, the aperture is not opening completely, or whether it was made that way. Quite possible, because the fourth one is the lower frequency one, maybe sounds more for a given amount of air, volume of air, and they perhaps didn't want it to sound more than the other reeds. So because of that, maybe the mechanism itself is designed in such a way that the aperture is smaller for the fourth one. Quite possible, I'm not sure. I don't want to deviate from the original design idea or the spec. I'd like to restore it to its original condition as much as possible without any modifications. Alright, thank you. Well, again, as an afterthought, I thought, why not take a short clip when all the reed blocks are removed. So here I have removed all the reed blocks, and now I'm going to play around with the register switches to exactly see why and what, and find out more details. So there we have it. Well, I decided to add one more clip. I thought, why not show, and also for my own record, what happens when I press each of those 7 register buttons. So this is in register 1. I hope you can see it clearly, the holes that are open. So essentially, again, to point out, this is 1. Okay, let me come up here. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, 1, 2, 3, 4. I made a mistake in the initial part of the video. I stated that the 4 reed blocks, they are L, M, M, H. Well, I soon realized my mistake. The reeds cannot be grouped that way. I realized that because we have the black keys. So the black keys also should correspond to either the L or the M or the second M or the H. So because of that, I think all the reeds are dispersed, in the sense mixed up between the 4 reed blocks. So it cannot, I'm sure the experts will know more on this. A reed block cannot be termed as an L or an M or an H because of the black keys, because the black key also has to correspond to either the L or the H or whatever. So that correction stated. Now this is the first register pressed, depressed, and as we can see here, the 1 is closed, 2 is open completely, and I'm not sure whether it is visible on video. The 3 and 4 are partially open. The 3 and 4 are partially open, probably a quarter of it. And that is on the top side of this is the top one. Let me show you what I mean by top. This is this is the top. This is the top, this is the bottom. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So that way, now, how do I play? Yeah, this is number 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, because it's the other way around. So if that is the case, that means 1 is closed, 2 is open, 3 and 4 are partially open. Whereas here, I think it goes the other way around. by simple logic, because these two are partially closed, whereas in this case, yes, they are not completely closed, but although here the open window is more than these two, even here they are partially closed. There is some gap here. So if this is considered as 1, I have a feeling by simple logic, this is probably 1, I think, for the block that is on the lower side. That is, what is 1 here, I think 1 is underneath there. So 1, 2, 3, 4 corresponds to 1, 2, 3, 4. This is what I feel from this. I think it's logical. So it's 1, 2 is open, 3 and 4 partially closed, 1 is closed, 2 is open, 3 and 4 more closed than these 3 and 4, but still I can see some gaps there. So that is register number 1. You can see all through till the top. There's nothing beyond that. And let me depress register 2. This is register 2. So in register 2, we have 1 and 2 open. 3 is, well, I can say half open. And 4 is a little less than a half, but that is also open. Whereas on the other side, we have 1, 2 completely open. 3 is 3/4 or maybe more open. And 4, very little gap. I think the plate itself is not, the tongue itself is not wide enough for it to cover the whole aperture. So I can still see some gaps. I do not know whether it matters in accordion terms. So we have 1, 2 open, 3 you can see, there is some opening, and 4 some opening. 1, 2 fully open, 3 you can see that, and 4. So that is the register number 2. We go to register number 3. We have 1, 2 open, 3 and 4, you can see it. It's a little less than a half open, whereas here 1, 2 open, 3 and 4, it's better than this set. This set is better than this set. Here, there is more blockage than what you see here. That is register number 3. This is register 4. I think this is the master. We have 1, 2 open, 3 and 4 you can see partially. 1, 2 open, 3 and 4, this is better than this one. Because master, I have a feeling it should open up everything. I need to check this mechanism later to see if there's anything wrong or whether it was designed this way. Because I don't see any anomaly here on these levers, and nothing is bent. And as I mentioned before, this was owned and used by a professional. So I don't think anybody like me would have actually attempted any repairs on this before. So that is, we are in the master, 1, 2, 3, 4. So let me go to 5. So we are in 5. 1 is open, 2 is closed, 3 and 4 partially open. Likewise, 1 is open, 2 is closed, same as this. 3 and 4 are more open than this set. So that will be 5, and now we are going to the register number 6. 6 will be 1, 2 closed, 1, 2 closed, 3 and 4 partially open, 3 and 4 partially open but more than this set. Now register 7, 1, 2 closed, 1, 2 closed, 3 and 4 partially open, 3 is partially open, but 4 looks more closed than open. Although I do see some gaps here, I think the tongue width itself is not enough, sufficient enough for it to close. Perhaps the design was meant to be that way. So that is register number 7. Now going back to 1, this is a register 1. So we are back to square 1. 1 closed, 1 closed, 2 open, 2 open, 3 and 4 partially, whereas here 3 and 4 are more closed than open compared to this set. So this is the as-is situation of this classic accordion. Let me see what I can do. As I mentioned before, I do not want to deviate from the original specifications, and I'll not be, as they say, do not try to repair something if it is not broken. I'm not going to modify any of these things. I just want to check that everything is working in order. And if this is the way it works, I'll retain it that way. I'll just replace the leather valves and check for the tuning. I haven't yet made a test bellow to check the reed blocks separately, independent of the accordion. I'm hoping to make that during this winter. I'm just waiting for a good deal on a broken accordion that has a good set of bellows, so that I can use those bellows to make the reed block tester. So once that is done, if there is any tuning required, I have the facility to do the tuning for the reeds. But I hope not. That will be the last thing. Coming from an engineering background, I do not modify things unless it is really essential. So if the tuning is okay, even if it is very close, it really doesn't matter to me. I have a better accordion, although that has it's a 3 plus I believe it's a 4. 3 reed blocks on the treble side, on the keyboard side, and 4 reed blocks on the bass side, which is also a 120 bass. It's a Hohner Tango 3M. That's what I have, which I use for my learning and practice. This I started the work long back, more than a year ago, I think. It was all, full steam. I started. The wait was too long getting the axle rod, the brass rod, but I did all that woodwork, careful enough not to damage it. But enough damage, some damage had to be done to pull out the axle rod, as I mentioned in the initial part of this video. But that is taken care of. None of the keys stick, and all the valves, these things close well. There are no issues with these. None of the keys stick. And earlier, some of the keys were actually sticking, but now everything is smooth because of the new rod that is going right through. So, this is the as-is video, and once I make any changes to this and get it back to 100%, because as I said earlier, the air required to play any phrase is a lot more compared to the other accordion that I have. And these are heavy because on the bass side, it's a 120 bass and it has 5 reed sets. It's very heavy, and my left arm really, it's a strain on that when you have to pump in and out every so often while practicing. That's it, folks, for now, and I hope to come up with a video soon with any of the fixes that I'm planning to make on this one. Thank you very much.